Okay, can I address when clients go through this process and seem to release, but then they are being re-triggered outside of sessions? How often does this process have to be repeated for trauma to be processed? I don't know why I'm answering questions with riddles or things like that. Like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? Oh, goodness. So how often does this have to be repeated? Whew. So maybe I'll go back to my little drawings. Well, first, this can happen, right? This does happen. People seem to go through and release, but then are being re-triggered outside of sessions. Okay? So a couple things to say about that. So, you, in your work with them, let's maybe get a new image. Well, we'll save that. I have too much junk on my computer. All right, but so let's see. I think I can. Hello, pen. I need you. Okay. Well, is that something? Okay, let's go back. We'll try just going back here. Okay. So clients go through this process and seem to release, but they're being re-triggered outside of the sessions. Okay, so how often do you have to do this process for the trauma to be processed? Okay. So, I think of things developmentally. Frequently, when a client comes into therapy or coaching or whatever your work is, sometimes they're more developmentally in a more unable to self-sustain, really need to lean on you developmental time period. It's kind of more like, almost you can think of them more like in a kind of childish or childlike dependency state, right? And so sometimes early on in a set of work, clients will lean on you and need you to support them to go through the process. But then when they're not with you, they get re-triggered outside of sessions. Okay, so so there's a couple things you can try. I mean, one is there's this notion of a transitional object. So a transitional object is something that, classically, like for a young child, it's like something that a parent can give to the child to help the child feel connected to the parent, even when the parent is absent. Okay, so things like you see kids with a little blanket, right? Or sometimes stuffed animals, right? These are things that can help them feel safe, secure, nurtured, protected, as if by the parent, when the parent's not there. Okay, so one thing you might try in those kinds of instances, Hinda, that you're describing, is giving the client or helping the client find a transitional object so that they can feel your presence or support outside of class. Let's see. There's other things to do, but why don't you just start with that? Okay. Yeah. And how often does this process have to be repeated for trauma to be processed? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? It's like, well, how deep is the trauma? How chronic is the trauma? Yeah. So I would say it's like a practice, and there's no hard and fast rules about that. But I hear the longing behind the question. And processing trauma is not just about releasing the trauma. It's about feeling the love and safety that allows the release. Okay? So learning to feel the love and safety and protection that allows the release. Sometimes there's a lot of focus on, oh yeah, I got the client to release. It's like, okay, good. Even more importantly, I got the client to feel enough safety with me so that release was possible. And even better, I got the client to feel their own inner sense of safety and self-love that allowed them to release. Okay? So you're trying to not just get them to release, but to internalize a sense of lovability and safe enoughness in the world. And that's really the measure of, okay, yeah, that's when the trauma is processed in the sense that there's enough inner capacity that even though the experience is probably still there and intense, there's enough lovability or security to know that it can be held and supported and sustained. Okay, so thank you. So Rachel's question, by using focusing, we can transform SIBAM when out of the window of tolerance and bring back to regulation. Yes, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Is this a purist practice? Is it only intended to follow the prompts offered? Yeah. You found yourself including mindfulness and meditation practices in the process. Good. Yay, Veronica. Do it. Yeah. The prompts are the training wheels. They give you the shape when you're just learning the work, right? Mindfulness and meditation practices, totally. Good for you. Make your own music. How much the felt sense is more physical or emotional? Kathy Oravec. Great question. And this is a whole nother, okay. This is another thing that most people don't realize about the felt sense. The felt sense isn't necessarily just physical, or isn't even necessarily just emotional. A felt sense could be like, the felt sense is the feeling of something you know not what, but it feels significant and is knocking at your door, right? There's a felt sense of something you know not what, and you know not why, but it calls to you somehow, right? There's a sense of, there's something. And sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes there's, like, people have felt senses, sometimes spiritual. It's like, there's something here. Like I feel like I need to go here. Or there's something, I don't understand what it is or why. It's like, but I felt like I had to come over to this place where I felt like it's strange and I'm just following it. But you can have that kind of felt sense also. There's a something something that feels important. Okay? So the truth is, you can have a felt sense that is sensory. I mean, you can have all sorts of felt senses. There's the whole SIBAM. You can have felt senses that are physical. You can have felt senses that are emotional. You can have felt senses that are like having an image, like almost emerge, like I had a vision or something. People have that. Like, some people have like authentic movement is like, yeah, I want to move. Like that. Yeah, yeah, like that. So the felt sense is, most people, and I don't want to get you in trouble, because most people, when they talk about the felt sense, they're talking more about sensation, but emotions is completely legit too. If you're going advanced, like the felt sense doesn't have to be even just physical or emotional. It refers to any time there's something peeking its head or peeking through the door, trying to call upon you for attention. Whether sensation, emotions that might have been tucked away or underexpressed, or images that arise that come with strange meaning. Okay? All right. So, if this focusing practice were to be completed in real life face to face, how would it be different? Well, it'd be, I mean, as people practice focusing, it would be pretty similar. There might be a little bit of like, sometimes there's a preliminary question of, am I sitting in a spot that's comfortable for you? Just a little check for physical distance. Maybe, that might come into play more, but by and large, it would be very, very, very similar, face to face. Okay. How do you encourage a client who feels on the spot or self-conscious, imaginative, or failing to identify feelings, whose observation about their state dwells on that tension, feeling like it's hard, and feeling like they might be failing? So yeah, so it's almost like, so just allow that and love that. Oh, you're feeling self-conscious or unimaginative, or you feel like you're failing to identify feelings. What's the failing feel like? That's a feeling. Like maybe there's failing has a certain feeling that goes with it. It's like, is it like, you're failing? What's that like? What's failing feel like on the inside? Feels like deflation or falling. I mean, there's so many different flavors of failing. Feels like being smacked on the head. That's another version of failing. So yeah, so just be with what is. Be with what is. Their state dwells on that tension. So notice that tension. How do you experience that? Say more about tension. It feels hard. Say more about hard. Hard. Like, is it a dense hard? Is it, So that's what I would encourage. Let me pause because this goes on for a while and it stops recording. Okay, here we go.